Hey everybody, how's it going? Today we're going to be working on an a1990 MacBook that's not turning on. We're going to try and figure out what's wrong with it and see if we can make it work again. As I begin this video, I want to be honest with you about something. I don't particularly find board repair fun anymore. I used to have this great sense of excitement and zest when I would be figuring out something new, even if it wasn't a board repair, even if it was just Apple not making the screen available to an A1369 Air, you only being able to get a display assembly for about $450, and me finding out where to buy the LCD cell by itself for $72. Even the supply side of the industry, every part of this industry was amazingly exciting to me. And I can't tell you exactly when it happened. I can't tell you exactly when it clicked, but I just don't find it to be as much fun anymore. And I feel a sense of guilt there because this is an industry that really has provided everything for me. It provided me with a living, it provided me with a paycheck, it provided me with a purpose, and allowed me to provide other people with a job that had shittier jobs before they started working here. So there is this little kind of a sense of guilt there. I feel like I owe this business and this industry in general more than the sad sack level of engagement that I'm going to be giving in videos like this when doing board repairs, where I just don't think I have the excitement that I did 7 to 10 years ago. I did start doing this around 2008 with MacBooks and around 2007 with studio gear, so it has been a while, but I don't know. I'm going to get myself a drink of water actually before I begin. I forgot to get myself a drink of water before I start, and that's usually a prerequisite to a positive board repair. You should always be hydrated. Always be hydrated. So, what do we have in front of us today? Looks like we have a MacBook. Let's take a look at this MacBook. Try and figure out what's going on with it, what's wrong with it. We're going to take it out of the case. Now, somebody did something here that I find to be truly despicable and evil, which is they unscrew the board from the case, but they also unscrewed and they kept the charge port screwed into here, which I think is horrible. I usually keep this on the board when I'm taking it apart. You can jimmy it out of there without bending the machine. And the reason this drives me nuts is because when you have a charger plug to this, it usually just kind of flops right off. It's not going to do that right now on camera. Right now, if I wanted, I could probably throw this thing up into the Empire State Building while it's attached to this because I'm trying to show it to you. And God forbid it do the same thing on camera that it does when I'm, have the camera off. But I tend to try and keep the charge port attached because it makes the estimate and just having to plug it in, unplug it a lot easier when it's not, constantly unplugging itself. And you always want to find these little things that will make the annoying parts of your job less annoying. You want to find those little hacks because the annoying parts of the job existing will subconsciously get you to start doing things lazier or putting less tries in than the amount of tries that you would put in before giving up on something. Or it'll cause you to subconsciously avoid something that you shouldn't be avoiding, and you don't always really know why, but it's these little things that just kind of add up over time. And one of them might be, every time you plug the charger in, this pops out. So you may notice when I take the boards out of the case, I always leave that thing screwed in there. So today, let's see what it's taking on the amp meter. And over here, it looks like we have 5.14 volts and 10 milliamps. And it looks like I grabbed the wrong one from the pile. Can anybody here guess why I grabbed the wrong one from the pile? Anybody here? Anybody here want to? So you're not going to see it at this level of zoom. So I'll give you all a hint. Let's give it this level of zoom. What do you see? What do you see? Zoom in over there. See if Susan W. is giving me some quality compression today. Also, the camera is shaking like crazy because of that shitty tripod I have. What do you see? Anybody? Intelligent chat? Is there intelligent life out there? Who am I kidding? It's a YouTube chat. So if you take a look at this very closely, you'll see that the water most likely dropped on a fan over here, and then when shoo, 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 right over here. And what do you see over here? Hey, I haven't even measured anything yet. I don't have to measure anything yet. I measured it with my eyeballs, and my eyeballs told me that I have a dead CPU. I haven't actually measured anything, haven't taken an x-ray, haven't done any of that. All I did is take a look at this board, and I realized that I'm kind of screwed. Let's see if you all agree with me and what you think. Yeah, that's not good. That's not good. By the way, do you guys like HDR on, or is it too washed out? I'll let you guys vote on this. What do you prefer? Do you prefer this, which is HDR on, or this, which is HDR off? Which is your preference? Again, to do it again, this is HDR off. This is HDR on. HDR on kind of makes the image a little bit washed out, and it bothers me that when I see the image looks kind of washed out. But all of you have voted HDR on. What if I overloaded you with HDR? Like, what if I did this to you? Would you still like it? That's kind of mean. Okay, we'll keep it on. You all have voted. So, this over here is a CPU MOSFET. This is going to be responsible for, turning 12 volts into a bunch of little pulses of 12 volts that then get turned into about a volt for the CPU. And obviously, if you have water over there, that doesn't fare well for it. Usually what that means is that instead of having a nice, happy little 1 volt or whatever for the CPU, that the CPU is going to get punched in the face with 12 volts, and it doesn't like that very much. It doesn't fare well when you do that. MacBooks don't like getting 12 volts to their CPU. So if we take a look at the schematic and the board view, if we take a look at the schematic and the board view, if we take a look at this, there we go, at the schematic and the board view, sorry, we're just wrestling with some Australian software there for a moment, but the Australian software is now behaving. And we click on this transistor. And then we go over here. You'll see that this is responsible for taking PP bus and sending PP bus to the CPU. But it's going to do it in pulses. And it's going to give you... Actually, this is not CPU. This is GPU. I lied. This is GPU vCore, not CPU vCore. My bad. To me, it's the same shit. A large BGA chip that is really expensive, that you can only usually find used on AliExpress, that often came from a donor board that was dead because it had a bad GPU, and that's a 45-minute soldering job, which typically turns this into the, what I like to call the bottom of the pile for repairs. So let's see if that's actually the case. Now, I'm going to take a wild guess on this machine that this transistor is shorted to ground, and that this PV bus high-side GPU is directly shorted to ground through QA340. That's going to be my guess. Let's see if I'm correct. So we're going to look for PP bus HS GPU, which is the voltage in. By the way, one thing that's really cool about Linux, one of the very few things that actually works nicely, is unlike in Windows, where the cursor won't show up in the right place when I do this split window window capture with the PDF reader, it actually shows up exactly where I want it to over here, which is really cool. So Linux window capture has vastly improved since what I used to do when I was using it. And like I don't know if you guys noticed this, but in the really early days, the Linux window capture was so bad in my videos in 2014 that if you take a look, I got this camera because I like the lens on it, and I actually used it, I shit you not, to zoom in on my desktop. I actually used to zoom in on, I got a 40-inch monitor, and I got this NEX EA50 camera with a giant zoom, and I actually used to zoom in on the monitor because it was better than dealing with all the bugs inherent in trying to do window capture on Linux live. And it's really come a long way to the point where it's actually, at the very least, not for video games. For video games, it still winds up overloading this exact same machine that'll do the exact same capture in Windows at 4K fine. But for stuff like this, the mouse pointer is exactly where I want it to be. Whereas in Windows, the mouse pointer is always like 1 or 2 inches off from where I want it to be when I'm doing this split screen thing. So it's pretty cool. Again, you're talking about capturing game footage. Again, you're expecting too much. I'm talking about like getting over to the 70s and the 80s where you're just capturing this. You're talking about the 90s and the 2000s. We're not quite there yet. But at least for this is actually cool. It actually has surpassed Windows for me for this particular usage. You may notice in my old videos where the mouse is not where it has the mouse moved like 1 or 2 inches over when I'm using Paul Daniels' software, unless I'm just doing full screen capture. But this is, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. So what we're gonna do here is go back to this. I'm gonna find out everywhere PPBus high side GPU is. I'm gonna guess that that's a subrail of PPBus G3 hot. And I'm just gonna choose a nice big point where I can measure that. I want to find a nice big chunky point where I can easily measure this rail, and on the other side of the board it looks like I can on any one of these nice big chunky caps. So I'm gonna turn the microscope to the side for a moment, turn down the light because this is actually, I think, a halogen bulb, not an LED. That's that noise that you hear in the background. And we're gonna measure the resistance. So let's see, what do we get to ground here? As you can see, we get 3 ohms to ground. 3 ohms. That's bad. You don't want a 12 or a 13 volt rail to have a 3 ohm short to ground. Now, I'm going to take a wild guess that out of everything here, that my short circuit is going to be being caused by the specific MOSFET that has liquid on it. So I'm going to remove that MOSFET that has liquid on it, and we're going to see if that fixes my case. Again, there's still a very good chance that even if I relieve my short, do keep this in mind, I could actually relieve my short, and after I relieve my short, realize that my CPU, or in this case my GPU, got 12 volts to the face and has failed. And again, that would suck. That would not be ideal. I would not like that. I'm rooting for that to not be the case, but it's possible that that's the case. Hello, Rob Brown. How are you doing today? I hope you had some time to marinate over what we discussed yesterday, and I wish the best for you. Imagine the part about the B-word guy will be kept between us. Okay, I'm also going to remove these 2 little caps over here. Now, you may wonder, Lewis, how do you know if it is the capacitor that is causing the short, because that's on PPBus G3 hot, or this MOSFET causing the short? It could be either. And also, why are you not testing or, injecting voltage in the board before you remove things? That's an excellent question. The reason that I'm removing these is because I need to remove this anyway. It's a liquid damage MOSFET that's responsible for providing power to the most expensive chip in the machine. You bet your ass I'm replacing this thing. There's no way I'm keeping this on the board, even if this is not the problem with the machine. Also, props to my Quick 861DW rework station, whose memory has finally started to fail, where it starts up every single time on a 250-degree preset instead of 500 degrees. And I can't reprogram it, so every time I turn it on, I have to remember that it's not defaulting to where I was when I turned it off or to my old preset. I like the Atom rework station, but I'm too much of a cheapskate to replace the Quick on my desk until until this shit just stops working entirely. I've had this station since 2017, and I like it. I like my little Quick. I don't want to replace it until it has no utility anymore. So, now we're going to see if our short circuit has moved. So PPBus is going to be in the bottom left, and ground is going to be on the bottom right. And we're going to see if there's anything still shorted there. Yes, there is. Okay, this is going to be... Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, we've also got another little MOSFET over here that's got some corrosion on it. Might as well give it a little bit more of an inspection. Everything else on this board is looking easy breezy. Okay. Oh, no! 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 Oh, no! Why? Why? This is not fair! Does anybody know what this is? Does anybody know what that is? Anybody know why I'm screaming like a bitch right now? Alright, let me show you why. Let me show you why. You see this over here? You see U9080? You know what this is? You know what this is with corrosion over here? That's the thing that's going to take 12 volts and turn it into a power rail for the SSD. So, this fucking machine, this absolute fucking piece of shit. So this is something that drives Paul and everybody at this store crazy, and it's really, really depressing, and it's really, really aggravating. So water tends to fall in a different spot on every MacBook model. And the way this works is whatever the spot is that typically gets water in that model is the thing that is likely to commonly fail. So on an A1502 Retina, a lot of the times the liquid will wind up getting right on the LCD connector and the image stuff on the corner. On an A1278, SMC, a sensor area, LCD connector, backlight circuit. You know where the water always falls on this one? On the area responsible for taking 12 volts from the main power rail and turning it into around 1 or 2 volts for the SSD. You know what happened when liquid gets on that chip? Can anybody guess? Anybody guess? 12 volts goes to the SSD, which is soldered onto the board, and then secured via the T2 chip via hardware and software that I don't get access to. So even if I were willing to call this customer, give them the bad news that their data is most likely gone, by the way, would you like a very expensive new proprietary SSD? I would not be able to do it because I don't have the pairing tool. So the board winds up becoming worthless. Yay! Well, let's see if that's the case here. Now, Paul S. is in the chat. Paul S. is in the chat. So, Paul, can you tell us how often, when the SSD area looks like this, do you have a board that you get to type fixed comma working in the ticket? And how often are you wasting your time? Give us some probabilities here. Also, everybody say hi to Mr. Paul S. in the chat. A legend among board repairers. Board repairers. Say board repairers 3 times really fast. Try doing that. It's almost impossible. Board repairers, board repairers, board repairers. Yeah. How often do you see this and not have the SSD be shorted to ground after having gotten 12 volts? How often do you have this where it's not followed up with a question mark folder? So Paul says 80% of the time. That's a dead SSD. But wait, Paul, there's more, because you just came in the stream now. You didn't get to see the rest of it. This one also had heavy corrosion by both the GPU MOSFET and a CPU MOSFET. So this is like the trifecta of your most expensive BGA chips. You have the CPU got 12 volts, the GPU got 12 volts, the SSD got 12 volts, and none of them are socketed. Yes. Yes. All right. Let's see. So first thing we even want to do on this before we go too much further is remove the short. So the short may not actually have been the CPU MOSFETs. There's a good chance that the short is going to be over here. Also, look at the balls underneath that chip. That does not look particularly healthy. Come on. One moment. This thing is actually lagging. I gave Linux a compliment, and I think that was a little too soon. There's actually a 1 or 2 second delay in my OBS screen. So I can't see what you see, so I can't get it into the right place. Almost, there we go. Okay, so do you see how there's like some crud under that BGA? That chip is what's responsible for turning 12 volts into 1 volt from my SSD. Now, do you think that's going to be well behaved after this fell on it? Probably not. So I'm going to start by removing the cap on the left and the cap on the right, because it's possible that because my name is not Paul S., that I am lucky that I remove that cap and my short goes away. The chip is fine, just needs a little minor reflow. I replaced the CPU and GPU MOSFET, and I have a machine that chimes, turns on, boots into the operating system, and works. What do y'all say? You think I'm lucky? Or do you think my day is going to end the way Paul's usually ends? One way to find out, right? One way to find out. Look at the board, how physically close PP Bus and NAND is. If I do that, I'm probably going to get mad. Let's see. Oh, no way. You... What? What? What the fuck? Are you shitting me? Look at this. Fucking look at this. Okay, look at this. This is NAND. This is PP Bus. NAND. PP Bus. Let's take a look at it on the board now, shall we? Are you fucking memeing me? Look at this. Look at this. 12 volts over here. No liquid resistance, no coating, no nothing. 2.5 volts going to your NAND here. 12 volts here. 2 volts going to your SSD, which is soldered onto your board and encrypted there. 12 volts here. 2 volts there. And look, this is where the water always lands. Isn't that convenient, folks? Now I remember what makes me passionate about this, because in the beginning of the video, I kind of said I just didn't find it that much fun anymore. Shitting on this garbage design year after year after year is what has kept a smile on my face and kept me sane as I do this work. I swear to God, you can't make this shit up. You have an SSD that you have soldered onto the board. Check. You have it encrypted by a proprietary chip that the customer has no access to, so they cannot replace their soldered on SSD. Check. You have a machine with no liquid resistance. Check. And you put the 2.5 volts that powers the SSD right next to the 12 volts for the system with nothing in between. Why? 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 I needed this. Oh my God. This is... Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize the amount of time that I spend using hot air here. And I'm going to use my soldering iron to remove this cap from the board by itself. I'm just going to take that cap and I'm going to send it on its way. And again, the reason I'm not using hot air is I want to minimize the amount of hot air I use over here because we're very close to the SSD. See, unlike the designers of this board, I respect the SSD. I respect it. I don't want to overheat it and I don't want to send 12 volts to it for no reason. I'm going to be nice to it. We have respect for the boards here. I may not have respect for certain aspects of the company, but I have respect for the product and the fact that somebody brought it here. And I want to be nicer to their SSD. Just because Apple's not nice to their SSD doesn't mean that I get to be mean to the SSD. I got to be nice to it too. That's how this works. So I removed the two caps in question. Do you think my short is gone? Drum roll, please. No, seriously, drum roll, please. Anybody have a drum roll? No drum roll? Really? I need to get a drum roll effect here. Okay. What do you say? What do you say? Is my short relieved? 3, 2, 1, and 3 ohms. Okay. Well, listen. Hey, it could be something else. Again, as I said, we had a CPU MOSFET that had a little bit of liquid around it. Maybe it's the MOSFET. Maybe it's not the SSD. Maybe it's still an easy one. You never know. You never know, do you? You never know. Okay, let's try. Let's just take a look and see. Again, it's always possible that it could be something else. Okay, I just got rid of my lag. Paul is saying take the SSD chip off and the short is gone. No, Paul, that's not what we're doing here. We're going to take off the CPU MOSFET. The CPU MOSFET will be what was causing my short. Everything is going to work again just beautifully after that, and we'll be just fine. It's going to be this. It's definitely not going to be a dead SSD, Paul. You go away with that. I'm confident my short's going to be gone on PP Bus G3 hot right after this. You'll see. You'll see, you bully. Alright, so we got that off of the board. We're going to do a little basic measurement. We're going to see that my short is gone, that my SSD is perfectly healthy, and we will get on with the repair. I will ride off into the sunset with a beautifully fixed MacBook ready to go back to a happy customer. And then we'll call it a day, right? 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 Okay. So let's see. What do we get? Multimeter on and... Oh. Wait, is that the right place? Am I measuring the right thing? Holy shit. Is that for real? Did that really just happen? Let me just make sure I'm measuring the right thing. Let's go over that again. Okay. Oh. Ho ho. Oh, no. Don't go back down. Go back up. Yes, back up. Up. Yes. 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 I have better luck than Paul. Yes. Finally. All right. Let's do this. Okay. Now, don't get me wrong. That chip has schmutz under it. We still got to reflow it. But let's just take a moment to celebrate the fact that there's a chance, a small sliver of a chance, that the SSD is not dead. Yeah. Apple put 12 volts as close as they could to 2.7 volts on this board, but there was just enough of that little schmutz to not make it all the way over there. All right. Okay. So I still got to reflow this without getting anything on this area over here. I still have to reflow this without getting this hot. So usually what I like to do is I like to put a box cutter or something over it. Paul says we have SSD buck converter. I would much rather replace it than reflow it. Is this something that we have on the store website, Paul? I should. Who am I kidding? I could look this up myself. I should be able to Google this. Yeah, I'm going to check my website. If I can't find this chip on my website, that's how I know that I have a shitty company. We'll see. If I can't find my own chip in my own store, that's how I know that we have to redo things. Here, TPS 62180. All right, when I should be able to find this shit in my own store. If I can't find it on my own website, then that's a fail. Let's see. Do I got it? I'm going to my website. One moment. I'm going to search store.rossmangroup.com. And this chip is not on the site. Okay, that's a giant fucking fail. So we sell it. We have a chip. And I literally have no way of finding it. That's lame. Oh, that's super lame. Greetings from Germany. Your repairs inspired me to repair my keyboard. Keys are working, but I killed some RGB LED pads and can't find these lines. Okay, so one of the things that I got to fix with the newer machines is with the older machines, every single time we had chips that we needed, I would buy them, I would add them to the site. The site would automatically say in the URL what slot it was in, so it was easy to find them in the store. And then kind of as time went on, it kind of turned back into the bro system where it's like, bro, I bought this chip. Bro, it's in this bin. And I really kind of want to go back to the old system. I hate the bro system. The bro system sucks so much. But, all right, so TPS 62180. Paul, where do I find the TPS 62180? Check my parts bin, little red bin on the desk, black strip I wrote SSD on. All right, and remind me later on to buy like 1,000 of that chip from whatever, because that thing is always bad. Check my parts bin, little red bin on my desk, black strip I wrote SSD on. That, and I got to find myself a donor board. All right, so be right back. Be right back. Got to find myself a donor board because I want to replace those MOSFETs as well. Also, what do you think the chances are that my CPU is even good? Let's say I remove my short, and that's cool. You know, I'm happy that I removed my short. Okay, I see a little red bin. It says parts. I see Piccolo. I see TPS 51980. I see LP8550. I see SSD, and oh, there's one left. Oh, fuck. Okay. So, Paul, remind me, we got to buy like 200 of this. And also remind me that for every single new chip for the new machines, that tomorrow we have to de-bro system it. Get rid of the bro system and make sure for all the new stuff, it's all available for sale and inventory and all that stuff. I don't mind adding it to the site and making the orders from Wong. But since you've been doing way more board repair than I am because you are good at it and I suck, you'll know what parts are needed more than I. Okay, so let me find the 1990 board. And I will steal some stuff from it. Like a nice little CPU MOSFET. Where is this? 2081, 920, 1707, 928, 923, 00850, 01041. It's such a weird number, 01041. Very strange number. Ugh, I don't like this one. These boards have CPUs on them. Gross. I want a board with no CPU on it. Board with CPU on it means CPU could be dead. CPU being dead means it could have been dead because of CPU MOSFET. And also all these boards are missing CPU MOSFETs. What? Oh wow, all of them are missing CPU. Okay, now with this one, okay, this one has CPU MOSFETs. Let's take a look at it. Take a little scan. I'm very wary. I'm never gonna. I forget the context of it. I remember Paul telling he was just looking through the donor board pile one day, and I pointed one to him, and it didn't have a hole in it. And he just gave me this weird look. And he's like, "I don't trust boards that have a CPU. I don't like boards with a CPU." Because the thing is, you never know if the board with the CPU is in the dead pile because the chip that you want to take off of it is actually what's dead. So I miss when Paul would say, "I don't trust the boards with the CPU. I don't like boards with the CPU." It is. It's like used. Honestly, it's like used underwear shopping, more like it. So I think I'm gonna go over these two CPU MOSFETs first, and then I will do the SSD chip in a moment. They're missing CPU MOSFETs because we have used them already. Okay, so this was the MOSFET in question. This is the MOSFET that was faulty. Tank Prism says, wear your mask. Dude, I got COVID. I beat COVID. I got a vaccine. I got the second dose of the vaccine. And I'm alone in my own motherfucking store. All right, next. So, let us figure this out. So this transistor is the one that is going for the CPU. So we had two corroded ones, one going to the CPU and one going to the GPU. Don't you Cuomo me. I enjoyed that Side Talk NYC clip where there's like that. Well, I can't say it because of obvious reasons. That N-word Cuomo said, we can't be outside last year. Guess where we at right now? Outside! I mean, a lot of the content on there is dumb, but some of it is really endearing. And every time I watch that, I get a little smile. Where we at? Outside! That Cuomo... Also, as you can see, The solder is drying so fast that it makes these weird joints, even though I have the iron on all 840. Please read my comment from your NAS video. I get like 18,000 comments a day. If you paste it here, I will read it. But if it's like a comment in an old video, it's just gone with the wind after a while. Paste it here, or paste the TLDR of it here, and I'll read it right now. But yeah, my comments is a clusterfuck. There's no hope if you ask me to go there and read it. I actually used to pride myself on reading and responding to every one of my comments. Then when I got to 100K, it was a little weird, but I still did it. At 400K, I still did it. And then like after 1.2, once it got to 18,000 comments a day, it just became impossible. So now I just respond to a couple of the top interesting ones or whatever flashes on my phone, and the rest get memory holds. That Cuomo N-word said we couldn't be outside last year. Guess where we at now? Outside! I keep replaying that in my head. It was such a good... The delivery of it really had everything to do with it. The delivery of it was just absolutely perfect. You can tell that none of that shit is scripted. Yeah, Erica used to get pissed at me because I would be responding to YouTube comments or reading them at 2 or 4 in the morning. And she'd say, "What are you doing?" And I'd say, "Erica, I have to keep up on all my comments." And she'd say, "Go to bed. You can't read all your comments. It's impossible." And then she helped me do the calculation to figure out, if you get 18,000 comments a day, how much time it takes to read each individual one if it was a certain amount of lines. Thomas Joseph with the good troll bait. Some quality troll bait, sir. Harvey has not posted the comment here, so I assume I made him mad. I apologize. It is not my intention to make you mad. I had someone actually call the store today with a YouTube comment. He's like, every now and then, when I know Hi's by himself, I'll help by picking up the phone. But what drives me nuts is when people call the store, the customer service line, not for customer service, but because they want to leave their YouTube comment in person. So I told him to email me. He's like, "Can I give you my number? You can call me later." And I was trying to find a way to say no without sounding like a dick, but it's like, it sucks because I can't really answer the phone anymore. Because I used to, like, you know, if Steve and Kevin and Hi were all, like, if they were all taken at the moment, I would answer the phone just to help them out. But now when I answer the phone, it's, "Oh my God, you're the YouTuber." It's, oh, fuck me in the ass. I gotta figure out a way to get a fucking vocoder or something on my Zoip app on Android so people can't tell that it's me. Because if they can tell that it's me, it turns a 2-minute conversation into a 15-minute conversation. Like, imagine if you were at the grocery store. Imagine you're at Wegmans and the person in front of you didn't have any groceries, but they were just standing in line to talk to the cashier for 10 minutes. And you're there like, "Yo, man, I'm in line." The thing is, since it's a phone call, they can't see it. There's no physical cue. Like, people don't do that in person. They won't do that in person because they'll see there's a physical cue. There's people that actually want to, you know, get their question answered, you know, leave their shit off and get the fuck out of there. But when it's a phone system, that you can't see that there's a queue of people. So when I say I don't have time to listen to your YouTube comment that you want to phone in, I sound like a dick. I sound like a fucking asshole. I sound like I'm too important for you. I'm famous, you cunt. I'm important. I'm way too important to listen to a pleb. But that's not it at all. I used to actually take these calls. I used to not mind taking them. It's just I can't take them when there's a line of fucking people that want the questions answered. And I could kind of tell that he wasn't really happy with my answer. And I know that he was pissed because he never emailed me. Nobody ever does. Nobody ever does. Like, when I say email it to me and I will read it, I don't want to call you. Like, I don't feel like calling people that watch my video. It's not sustainable. Because well, the other thing that I've learned is not to do things I can't scale. Because if I do that, then I'd have to be willing to take 18,000 phone calls a day I'd have to be open to everybody phoning in the YouTube comments. And, like, that's... No. But you could tell it pisses people off. Like, I asked that guy politely, like, can you post a comment here? And he didn't. He's probably, I don't know, maybe my delivery sucks. It's possible that my delivery sucks. I think I think that my delivery probably sucks. I asked Linus about that a long time ago. Like 4 or 5 years ago. I just asked because, I told him, like I said, hey, sometimes I get recognized. Sometimes it can get a little bit weird. How do you deal with this shit? And he said, it has to happen to you. Like, I know you're in a city. You're not in a city that's as big as New York City, but you're 20. I would say 20 times as famous as I am. So even if you're in an area that's not as densely populated, you still got to get this. And he goes, I'll never forget this one time that I was in McDonald's and I ordered my food, and this guy screamed, I know that voice anywhere! And I put his hand up in the air, and then he just thought to himself, my God. And he didn't say it out loud, but he heard it in his head very loud. I don't know. I shouldn't assume the worst, Peter Harper. You're right. I shouldn't assume the worst. I'm a little fed up because of how passive-aggressive that one phone call I had today was when... It actually wasn't one. It was 3 phone calls I had today. 2 of them took it cool. One of them was like, how dare you answer a customer? How dare you say that this is a customer service phone line? You could tell that he was audibly pissed at me for saying I'm not. I wanted to see what happens if I told the truth. Usually what I wind up doing is I put them on hold and I deal with the regular customers and I don't circle back to them very fast. And at some point they realize, what I usually do is I let them recognize that the customer is more important than them. I'll let them eventually come to that conclusion when they've been on hold for a really long period of time. And he did come back, so I feel like a dick. I'm sorry, Harvey. You're probably a really nice dude. I apologize. Set it up as RAID 10 on a virtual machine within a Type 1 hypervisor running in a RAID 10 configured server. You could probably get a used rack server online for a few hundred. You also have power redundancy. That's a good idea. Because I'm a basic bitch, what I wound up doing is getting a QNAP, and I realized that the resale value on my Synology at this point in time, even used, I don't know what the hell's going on, is only about $100 less than what I paid for it. So my net is probably going to be, it's going to cost me $150 to get a newer system. I also did some reading to figure out that there are a lot of issues with the Atom processors on the particular line that I got where they die, and that made me really, that made me decide that I might want to get rid of this sooner rather than later. I appreciate the suggestion, Harvey. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. I apologize for taking out my salt on you. Right now, I'm just copying everything off of that NAS because I intend to reuse the disks from it. So for those who don't get what I'm talking about here, I bought a NAS about 7 years ago before anybody knew who I was. Like before I had stalkers, before I had people who would try to break into my apartment, before I had even 500 subscribers, honestly. And I never really thought that I would need disk encryption, so I never looked into disk encryption when I got a NAS. And it just wasn't a feature that I ever thought I would care about or that I would need. Who the hell knows who I am? Who cares about my shit? And that was my thought back in 2014. And as you can imagine, that drastically fucking changed. So I've decided that one of my priorities is to have encryption. And one of the things that drove me nuts with the DS1515 NAS that I have right now is it won't show up over USB, so I can't use it as an external drive on a computer where I encrypt the drive. And the encryption in it claims that it only works if the file size is under 143 characters, but what I learned painstakingly is that that's not true. It actually seems to include the path in that. So if the path is greater than 143 characters, including the file name, it will not allow me to encrypt the volume, and that's just a limitation that I don't want to live with. So, but that was right inside Dan's desk drawer has them labeled SSD buck. Okay, and now the first thing that we're doing tomorrow is we are adding these to inventory. We are going to add these to inventory, we are going to add them to the website, and we are going to put them in a bin, because it does not make any sense that this chip that is important be put on a bunch of random desks in a bunch of random places. If you were a new person and you just started working here, you should be able to utilize a system that allows you to find all this little shit that you need without having to ask anybody where it is. Not yelling at you personally, although admittedly it kind of is fun to yell at you personally. But I'm just saying. So now I could use your help, which is for all of the newer devices from when I stopped adding chips to the site, tell me which ones are the ones that we're getting on a regular basis that are important, and instead of them just going over to random people's stations, they're going to go in inventory, they go on the site, they get a picture. We get a nice little low stock alert when we're low, all that good stuff. And oh my God, every single one of these is missing these stupid little caps. I want to grab these 2 caps right next to the SSD chip, but every single board that I'm grabbing is missing them. Holy... Which is how I know that you've been through this over and over again, and probably with a dead SSD each time. Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad when you know what the outcome is going to be. You do it anyway. You know the SSD is going to be dead. And I know the SSD is going to be dead. And yet here we are, pretending that there's a chance that it's not. For whose benefit? For whose benefit do we fight? For the entertainment of the viewer, I imagine. It's for the entertainment of the viewer. Okay, I'll find the cap from another part of the board. Surely this cap is somewhere else on the board, because they're all gone from there. Harvey, I actually have a battery backup on my current NAS. It's a piece of crap. It's one of those like $130 APC units. It's not really that great, but it does. I have tested it before I started putting data on my NAS. Yeah, I can unplug it. I unplugged it for like 10 or 20 minutes, and the thing was still running. Sorry, I muted for a very loud sneeze. Okay, the same cap is on the other side of the board. I hope I have not contracted the G variant. That would suck. I do not want new COVID. I would prefer to call it by its proper name. I have yet to hear why we skipped over G in the alphabet. Doesn't make sense to me that we... Wait a second. You guys stole that one too! Look, so these are the donor boards right here, right? See this? Look. These rabid thieves that work here. Look, see this? This board is missing the caps over here that I was going to steal and put on this one. So it's missing this and this. So I go to the other side of the board thinking I'll just steal the ones from the other side of the same value. But somebody else thought that first. Look at this. Look at these thieves. This is kind of like the work version of when Mr. Clinton goes through my garbage pail because I didn't feed him, and I come home and the garbage pail is knocked over in the kitchen. Like, I feel that way about these boards. They're all missing even the... You are savages. You are all absolute and utter savages. Every last one of you. I love you for it, and I appreciate it. Every one of those things that's missing represents somebody that may have gotten their data back that didn't otherwise, so I appreciate it. Thank you for your savagery, but still, damn. Alright, so I got myself a little metal shield that I'm going to use to cover the SSD on here. So watch, see this? This is my little metal shield. Also, one sec, I got to turn the buffering off because the buffering is causing quite a bit of lag. One moment. There we go. It's instant. So we do this little metal thing over here. It's going to help absorb the heat on my good board. And I'm going to steal from my donor, which is in this little pile over here. APC backups are the best, is all I will buy. Oh, so they're good. I only got it because there was a coupon code for it. And it was cheap. But if it's actually good, that's a considerable benefit. Okay, L86CDF. Let's see, which way does this chip go on the board? Uh-oh. Okay, you go like this. The text over here. Remember the orientation, Lewis. Remember the orientation. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Get the fuck out of here. Yeah, there was a bunch of junk under this. It was the right thing to do to remove this chip. Please don't take this as me being pedantic, but G is pronounced as KSI. KSI? I thought KSI is a famous YouTuber. I would never call KSI Xi Jinping. You go to KSI and apologize right now. That's fucked up. You just called him Xi Jinping. Oh no, the short is gone already, man. The short was the CPU MOSFET this whole time. KSI altogether. Dude, KSI is not going to be together with you when you call him Xi Jinping. You apologize to KSI right now. I'm never going to get a collaboration with a famous YouTuber in my career after my fan base is found using this leveling, this grade of insult against them. Okay. We clean the area nicely. Prepare this for the SSD buck chip. Now, I have one chip left. No worries. No stress at all. What could possibly go wrong? Fume extractor, if you eat this chip, I will... I try to be I draw robots. That was instant. Okay, now for the capacitors. I don't remember what I replaced 5 minutes ago, Zero Effect. Again, you don't want to use too much heat there. Again, you're right by the NAND. Be nice to it. This piece of shit NAND already got 12 volts to it. Last thing you need. Alright, that's it. That's it. Now we're going to let this thing cool off. We're going to give it a minute. We're going to give it a minute. We're going to say thank you, Paul, for the SSD chips he so graciously donated to this cause. Everybody say thank you, Paul S., for providing the SSD chip. I have a mesh screen in the fume extractor, but that doesn't stop this stuff from getting through because the mesh that I have on it is too large. Okay, so we're going to turn this off momentarily. We're going to engage rapid cool technology. So we're going to have 3 stages with this machine. The first stage is me seeing if when I plug in the charger, I get 20 volts and it turns on. The second stage is going to be me seeing if I get image. And the third is going to be seeing if I get an Apple logo because the SSD is not dead. I'm having problems with my early A1644, I think you mean 2004. It's stuck doing an encryption for yonks at a shop that was supposed to be fixing a camera that says it was hot. Any idea? I don't know where to begin with that sentence, man. I'm sorry. 2004 was before my time. That was sophomore year of high school for me. Okay, so the first radical celebration here is going to be... I guess the first is let's just measure and see that my short is actually gone. Maybe I was measuring the wrong part before when I saw the short was gone and I got optimistic. What? What? Are you... Bro. No way. Dude. Wait, was I getting a fake reading before? What is this? Wait, so now I'm getting 4 million ohms, but before I was getting 0. You saw that. What am I doing? Wait. None? No. You're not... No. That 36 kiloohms. Yeah, no. Capacitor's charging is not going to be what causes it to start at 0 ohms and go to 37.2. No. That's a troll. That's weird. Okay, you know, give it a rest. Pick it up. Do this. That was a drawing that Sonny made for me, Verette. Okay, 4,000 ohms. Let's get the show on the road. PP Bus Unite. PP Bus Unite. 5 volts, 200 milliamps. Come on, give me a startup, baby. Give me a startup. 20 volts! 20 volts. 160 milliamps. 1 amp! All right, we have a chance, baby. All right, we're going to plug this in with the screen. We're going to see if we get an image. If we get an image, there's a chance. Here's the thing. What kind of image do I get? Am I going to get an image of an Apple logo? Or am I going to get an image of a question mark folder that means that the SSD is dead? So we got it to turn on. We got rid of the short. Now, I'm just going to clean off my desk a little bit before I put the machine on here. I want it to be nice and clean before a customer's device touches it. What do you think the chances are? So there's 3 things that can happen. Behind door number 1, we get no picture at all, and it's brain dead because the CPU and the GPU got 12 volts. That's very possible. CPU and GPU getting 12 volts means it's brain dead, we get no picture, or it's either brain dead or the brain is turning on but the GPU is not turning on. Behind door number 2, it turns on, GPU and CPU are good, but SSD got 12 volts, so we get a question mark folder. Behind door number 3, it turns on, has an image, is not brain dead, and it gives us an Apple logo and starts booting into an operating system. Each one of these is a likely outcome based on what we've seen. And there's no way for me to really tell you which one it is until I plug it in and we see what's on the screen. So, ladies and gentlemen, the suspense is going to come to an end in just one moment. Hold on, folks. Don't touch that dial. We are the slime on the radio. We are the slime on your living room floor. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. We are the slime from the patio. We are the slime on your living room floor. Da 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 da. Da 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 da. Anybody know where that's from? Anybody know where that's from? Let's see. Get an idea what you listen to from there. Very good, Pablo. Good taste, man. I love that album. Overnight Sensation. That is Frank Zappa. You are correct. Okay. I enjoy Frank Zappa. It's a good album. I learned a trick to avoid the copyright strike that usually would show up when I do that. Admittedly, I don't watch left-wing YouTube very often, but when I do, I learn tricks like this. I got this one from Hasanabi. It goes something like, yeah, la 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 la, no DMCA, no DMCA, no DMCA, la 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 la, no DMCA. It's actually a good trick, but yeah, I don't know if it'll work for me the way it does for him. Anyway, this over here is an Apple logo, which means it's actually booting into an operating system, which means the SSD is not dead, which is a fucking miracle. I mean, again, the SSD chip on this was corroded. However, the SSD was not the primary issue here when it comes to a short. The primary issue was a CPU MOSFET that was highly corroded. Or not even highly corroded, I'll be honest with you. It was seemingly like mildly corroded right next to the CPU. Are you appropriating the means of no DMCA production from a communist? Says Aaron E. Honestly, yes, I am. Somebody linked that to me solely for the purpose of learning how to deal with the DMCA, and I gotta say, he's come up with a very good method of dealing with the DMCA. You know that meme of you have two, like, there's this meme of, I think, like a black hand and a white hand shaking hands on this one area, and over here it's like this opposite, here we agree. I think that, like, conservatives, liberals, neoliberals, communists, Trump right-wing people versus rhinos, all of them can, like 90% of the country can come together and say the DMCA sucks balls. So I will stand in solidarity with anybody who is tired of the DMCA. So this is kind of taking a while to boot. And admittedly, it's going to take a while to boot because I've unplugged everything that gives it an idea of the temperature of the machine. The trackpad is unconnected. The keyboard's unconnected. The fans are unconnected. A lot of the stuff is unconnected. It's going to give it an idea of what's going on. But as you can see, it does indeed boot into an operating system, which means that the SSD is working, the CPU is working, and the GPU is working, which means, once again, I have better luck than Paul. That's all I need to be happy. But on a serious note, when Paul said in the chat that 80% of the time when it has this failure, when you have a 0 or a 2 ohm short to ground on PP-Bus G3 hot and you have water damage, that it doesn't work, he was being serious. I regularly walk, every now and then I'll look through the queue in Repair Shopper of everybody here, and I'll walk by the desk to see what people are working on, and routinely you see liquid damage there and them just saying it's done, it's done, it's done, because most of the time that happens. And the way that this happens is as follows. I'll just show you again on the microscope, just in case any of you missed it or were not paying attention to it. If you take a look, let's just get that under the microscope. just to be 100% clear on how this machine is put together. Can you all see this? This over here is 12 volts. This over here is 2 volts that's going to power your SSD. The solid-state drive is soldered onto the motherboard. Since the solid-state drive is soldered onto the motherboard, you cannot replace it easily. And since there's a T2 chip that deals with encryption that is paired to that particular SSD, that you don't get access to the pairing tools for, you can't replace that SSD even if you have the soldering skills. So, do you see any sort of conformal coating applied over here? Do you see any sort of covering applied over here to ensure that you're able to block the 12 volts from getting over there? Now, you may say that it's not normal for that to be used, but if you take a look at even just some of the older MacBook Airs, you'll see certain boards where there is covering on certain areas. The first one coming to mind right now is an 820-3437, 820-00165, 820-3435, or 820-00164, right by the PP342_G3 hot circuit, where there's 2 or 4 input capacitors that are shielded in this particular rubberish material. And I'm going to try and find that and show it to you so you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. What's interesting to me is that that area is not really necessarily crucial to a customer's data, yet you'll see it covered on those devices, yet here it's not, and you have this point right next to it. It's very similar to on an A1708, how on the A1708s oftentimes you'll see that the 12 volts from PP bus is shorted over to a data line for Wi-Fi, a PCI Express data line going to the CPU. And 12 volt, again, if you're overclocking, I'm sure you probably learned this from watching Linus, don't do 12 volts to the CPU, and don't do 12 volts in your PCI Express data line. Linus should hold a class on this shit, I swear. And he should invite people that wind up designing computers. Here we go. All right, so I'm going to show you a board over here that has what I'm talking about on it, and how so many dead SSDs, so much lost data, so much unhappiness could be prevented. So take a look at this. So over here, this is an 820-00165. This is a MacBook Air from 2015. Now, see this over here? You have this kind of rubbery-ish material. And this board is burned because we've used it as a donor board, so please disregard the burn marks that you see. But you see this over here? You see this? This over here is this encapsulating material so that if I spill something, this never manages to touch that. There's no chance for corrosion to grow because this is a thick encapsulating material. Now imagine, again, I'm not saying waterproof the entire machine. We got to start with baby steps. And even AA has 12 steps to recovery. So what if this piece with 12 volts over here were encapsulated so that if anything got over here, there's not an easy chance for this 12 volts to make it over here to the 2 volts that goes to your SSD. Imagine if that level of thought were put in. Again, we're not talking about liquid-proofing the machine the way that IBM and Lenovo did in 2005, so that when you spill something, you don't have a problem at all. We're just talking about the most sensitive parts related to your particular data on a device that's encrypted with an SSD that you cannot replace yourself because it's soldered in and utilizes very specific pairing software that you don't get access to. Can we just put something there so that the 12 volts from the input doesn't go to the 2.7 volts from output? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. That's it for today, and as always, I hope you learned something. I feel like I got my enthusiasm back. I did. I remember what keeps me enthusiastic about this. There's always a meme. It doesn't matter how many years pass. There's always a new meme. And this is the new meme. There's a new meme with every year. Anyway, see you all in the next one.